Eric, does it say recording on your end? It's like circling
I
on
do not.
mine.
I do not see recording. Oh, I do. It says recording. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like circling around on mine, but it's probably recording right now.
Got it.
We'll I wish that circle would go away. Interesting. We'll get started. It should be good. Cool. Yeah. Hey, thank you everybody for jumping in. This is awesome. I love doing these hot seats every month because we get to bring in vendors we know and trust, especially ones that are from Canada. So thank you, Eric. Eric works for a company called Sera4, and they do access control. And I'm super excited because I've heard a few things about them from some of our ambassadors and directors. They got their hands on some of their devices. They said they're rock solid. And I'm also very interested to hear about the architecture. Apparently, that's one of the big things with the scalability of this product. So I'm really looking forward to this hot seat. So Eric, if you could just take it away, I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks a lot, Blake. Much appreciated. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Thanks for having me. I'm totally excited to be on this call. Just to let you know a little bit about myself. I'm out of Canada, but I've been in the low voltage industry for 26 years. And one of the things that attracted me to joining this company and being a part of this movement is my opinion is that it's purpose built for the low voltage community to grab onto and just transform access control like it's never been transformed before. It's an interesting time. We're navigating some pretty radical stuff. And interestingly enough, we're happy to say that our technology has been able to navigate all this. I tell everybody I feel incredibly privileged that I'm not selling fine tapestries, but yet I'm selling solutions to protect critical infrastructure because no matter how awkward things are out there, this stuff is still in demand more than ever, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and change my screen here, and hopefully you could see the screen change. Did it change for everybody? Everything good? Great. So first of all, I'd just like to introduce myself, responsible for all the commercial aspects of the business globally. And if there's one thing that this pandemic's been able to help us with, it's scaling from our own homes. We literally carry on conversations and help people around the world all day, all night, all the time, from Australia to Myanmar to Africa and now North America. That's the time zone we're in right now. So here we are. Accompanying me on this call is Daniel Galliano. He is our Director of Customer Experience. Has been with the company for pretty much almost inception. And I also see that our CEO has managed to jump in, so we're pretty excited to have him on. And I'd like to have a shout out, first of all, to LVN, because I'm addicted to this platform and what you're doing. I think it's exactly what the industry needed. I think it's, being here 26 years, the authenticity that's dripping off this whole movement is great. And I think we can we're really going to do some great stuff together. And a shout out to Cable and Connections. So Cable and Connections was our first distributor for North America, and really, Dan and I are like family. We kind of grew up in the industry together. We gravitated to each other with this technology. His and Darren is, his brother. Just really, Cable and Connections are like our family, and they're doing the product a ton of justice. They've got stock. They've been helping us, and they introduced me to LVN and to Blake and to what's going on here. So a little shout out to them, and thank you for all this and for all the support you're giving us. I look forward to our relationship going and growing. So a little bit about our company. We've been around since 2014. So although it's kind of new that you're hearing about us in North America, we've actually got a lot of history as it relates to this segment, this space. 6 years doesn't sound like a lot, but with the leading edge stuff that we're going to be bringing to the table and showing you today, it's 6 years is a long time. We've come a long way. Our founder is originally from BlackBerry, and the BlackBerry technology and the approach. There were two things that BlackBerry is really known for. I'm sure you'll all know what the first one is, and it's technology, and it's secure, cyber resilient technology and platforms. That's our hallmark. That's what we're all about. We're a security, cyber resilience company before anything else, before any doorknob, any padlock. It's about security. It's about cyber resilience. The second thing that BlackBerry was really well known for is doing as much as you can with as little power as possible. So power is a precious resource when you're deploying infrastructure, especially for us low voltage guys, right? How much can we get over PoE? What can we push over that UTP? So we are a company that thrives in environments where power is difficult to get access to, where infrastructure is a challenge to get access to, but security is paramount. And that really, what I'm defining here is critical infrastructure. And that's our hallmark. That's what we're all about. We're based out of Waterloo, Ontario, Canada. That's about an hour west of Toronto. And if you were to look at our product line as 3 pillars, the first pillar is really our padlocks. The reason why I bring it up wasn't our first product, but the reason why I bring it up is because it's what we're most, I guess, kind of recognized for. And if you can see me on the screen, I'm holding 2 different versions of it now. I've got the regular shackle and the long shackle. And once you hold one of these, Blake, we sent one to you, so it's either in the mail or you'll get it. And I look forward to getting a segment on that. Once you pick this one up, that first, you'll never forget it. I got addicted to the business as soon as I saw the product. And don't drop it on your foot because it's a couple of pounds. But we got some great stories to tell you about the padlock and the line of padlocks. And then as we move over to the right, we've got our keyless lock controllers, and really that's what we started the business with. Our whole movement is being lock agnostic. So as much as there's excitement around selling brass stuff, doorknobs, whatever it may be, that certainly is a part of the solution, but we prefer to be the guts. And so what we're offering is an elegant overlay controller that can wire into any type of electromechanical lock that you could think of, that's either at a doorway, at a cabinet, whatever it may be, and you render that keyless. So everything that we do is keyless, 100%. You don't have any artifact, you don't have any fob, you don't have anything. You've got your phone. Sometimes you don't even have your phone and you can still get into our stuff, and we'll show you how we do that. And then last but certainly not least is our management platform, and really a ton of secret sauce in this, a ton of intellectual property associated to this. And what we're offering is a microservice cloud to all our clients. The scalability is unmatched. The keys for the customers are being secured in this cloud. Customers are getting their own virtual servers, and it is the head of our cloud architecture platform was formerly heading up the cloud practice at IBM. And interesting little fun fact, no one in our company comes from access control originally. That wasn't by design. Sometimes that's a blessing, sometimes that's a curse. It's a blessing in that we're breaking things down and we're starting things completely fresh. The people in our company, either from BlackBerry, IBM, Cisco, you name it. My history prior to this, for 10 years with Fluke and Fluke Networks, kind of running that space. So we're taking a different perspective on this, and quite frankly, it's I can't tell you how much fun we're having. We're having the time of our lives, actually. We're worldwide. We've got over 35,000 sites where our technology is currently deployed. We've got over 2 million access events that we've secured. And I've heard rumors that there's anywhere between 40,000 to 70,000 users of our app at any given time around the world, worldwide, from Latin America, Africa, you name it. I will change the slide. A little bit about customers and about how we came to be. As soon as our founder kicked off our venture, the first customer he landed was AT&T. And the first thing they had him do was get on a plane and get down to Mexico City and handle some of the epidemic going on down there as it relates to theft and vandalism with their cabinets that reside at the base of cell phone towers. So having a hard time tracking all that, having a hard time, essentially understanding, who was getting in there, who's casing out the joint, what's going on. So we started digitizing all these cabinets with our controller, and we were really just a controller company to begin with. And the next thing you know, they're apprehending these criminals. They're convicting them and putting them in jail. And word's getting out: don't mess with the AT&T cabinets down in Latin America, because you're going to get arrested. They can find you, because we're not giving out keys. We're not giving out real keys. We're giving out virtual keys. We're giving out secure encrypted keys, and technicians are utilizing their phone, and it leaves an incredible audit trail, and it allows us to see exactly who's coming in and out at any given time. It allows us to pick up anomalies. There's an old saying: "In God we trust, all others must bring data." So we're bringing the data to the party, and then they love it. They just go crazy for it. The next call we get is from American Tower. So American Tower is one of the biggest landlords in the telecom space, and AT&T is a big tenant of theirs, and they've got all their cabinets at the base of towers and stuff like that. And they're saying, listen, we see what you're doing in those cabinets. Do you get a padlock for our fences? Because we'd love to digitize the fence and turn it into a keyless solution. And that's the history of the product line. That's where we came from. Then we said, yeah, let's get into it. So we got over 10,000 sites with our friends at American Tower. AT&T is going through the roof. Our hallmark and where we started was really telecom. And then the next thing you know, we're branching out. We're branching out into utilities. We're branching out into transit, municipalities, parks and rec. People are using them for, requirements in their building, in their riser rooms. And this thing has an application everywhere. If you've got a door, if you've got a pathway, if you've got a space that requires special attention, we're a great solution to bring into the play to secure that environment. So access control, evolution and challenges. Just listen, you guys wrote the book. You've seen it all. I'm going to skim through this real quick. But, we started with physical keys, kind of moved over to keypads, we moved over to card readers, etc. Things are getting a little bit better, but it's still caveman stuff. Then we started connecting things. And then all of a sudden, connecting's great, but what's the big concern around connecting? Well, the big concern around connecting is cyber resilience. And ultimately, when you're thinking about old world, you got concerns over security because people are lending keys to each other yet. There's no audit trail. I lent that guy that key. I don't remember if he still got it. I'm using one key for all my infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. Reliability is an issue as well. You don't have any redundant access methods. There's, unable to remotely grant keys. How many people have done a truck roll just to go get a key to get into access to an environment to do some work? It's crazy. Just the list goes on. And then, of course, scalability. Managing keys is inefficient. Even if it's a key fob, even if it's a PIN code, just managing that's out of control. Who has the code? How often do we have to change it? Do we have to go to the PIN pad and change it every time? Is it Bluetooth, but it's a Bluetooth device that's got to change it, and you got to stand in front of the PIN code? It just goes on, and then ultimately you're dealing with your concern of hacking and cyber resilience and people getting into these appliances that aren't properly secured. So bring in Sera4, and this is where we're coming into the play. Ultimately, we're offering something that is off network. So as much as we're all network folks, because it's the low voltage nation and we're connecting things up, the movement right now and what you're seeing in a connected world is for very specific appliances, very specific places and spaces. There are strategies to keep things off network, to deliver a higher level of security, a higher level of reliability, and less of a requirement for infrastructure when you just can't get the infrastructure. So we're off network. It's digital access control. It's keyless. And like I said, the whole architecture is on a microservice cloud. Which basically means it's a containerized architecture via Kubernetes. And it's something that probably is not even coming up in access control. You're hearing it in other state-of-the-art industry applications worldwide, but we're, we really are pioneering here in the access control space as it relates to how we're securing people's keys and data in the cloud. So our solution allows for getting rid of those keys, those pins, those cards, those fobs, just getting rid of it for those very specific areas. So I'm not ready to say that we're going to boil the ocean of a full office building and we're going to be the only solution in that office building. In fact, I would almost recommend against it. But what we have is we have customers that have incredible access control in buildings, but they have 10 to 15% of their rooms, their cabinets, their environments where they're having challenges. And their current access control system, whether it's a key fob, whether it's a PIN code or whatever it may be, is not delivering the level of security that you need. These areas and environments could be computer rooms, they could be riser rooms, they could be rooms where you might have to keep some Kevlar vests or some firearms if it's a particular courthouse or something. Those rooms have zero room for failure, zero room for security breach. And that's where we come in and provide digital keys, and it's a keyless access entry point, and we can grant and revoke at the drop of a hat, at the click of a mouse, and there's nobody circumventing this, which is great. So it's not so much about bad people getting into some of these buildings, but it's about wrong people getting into those rooms and making mistakes. So the battle cry for us is go keyless with Sera4. And we're going to talk a little bit about the products. I'm going to get right into it. Here's a nice architecture or marketecture slide, if you will. Just really scraping the surface of what this is about. So like I mentioned, our appliances or our locking hardware, whether it's the padlock or our controller, are off network. These could be down in a mine shaft. They could be in the basement of a building. They could be up a tower somewhere where there is no utility or no, could be at a campsite. You do not need connectivity. What ultimately happens is when a user approaches the lock, they wake the lock up, and then the authentication process and the validation process starts to happen in a highly secure, encrypted fashion. So it's offline architecture. Now we are integrating with online architecture. So we do have integrators in different parts of the world that are providing facial recognition technology at locations where a technician is standing in front of the door. They don't have their digital key that's in their phone is not activated, but the facial recognition cross-references the database, says, yeah, Blake can come in here, activate the key in his phone, and he gets in. The pros of that is you're not unlocking and locking doors remotely. You're granting access for the right person to get access. And so when you think about cyber resilience, you'll never hear, if you're thinking about offline access control for a critical infrastructure, you'll never hear that story about some kid somewhere thousands of miles away was able to hack your access control and be able to unlock it or lock it. Could be even worse, right? So this is a movement. This is actually picking up some momentum, picking up speed. So what we're always talking to is monitoring, censoring, real time, alarming, real time, but access control for critical infrastructure offline, and these things get crossed back and forth. We are a lock agnostic solution. What do we mean by that? We've got our padlocks, sure, but we can plug into any kind of lock, utilizing our controller. Now, something really important to mention is you see the sign Bluetooth here on this slide, and really Bluetooth is an important transport system for us. So we are not a Bluetooth protocol. There's some things we love about Bluetooth and things we really don't like about Bluetooth. The things we love about Bluetooth is that everybody's got it on their phone. It's got a great roadmap. It's not going anywhere, and it uses very low power and connects pretty well. The thing we hate about it is it's not secure. You could Google and within a minute find stories of 12-year-old kids who were able to hack Bluetooth for a project. So what we do is we actually are only utilizing what's good about Bluetooth, and we have intellectual property that's allowing us to encrypt our information between the phone and the lock over the Bluetooth transport layer. So you know when you go in your phone and you're looking at your Bluetooth appliances that are in there, you've got your Bose speakers, you've got your headphones, you've got the car that you rented in Minneapolis, you've got the 3 months ago still sitting on your Bluetooth, like everybody's got it. Blake's laughing, how many cars you got in there from different, what trip was that? When was I in a Maxima? So you do not see our locks on your Bluetooth. Our locks and our controllers are between the platform application that you've downloaded either on iPhone or iOS, which is free. You can all download it by searching Teleport right now, and between the lock. So that's a really key secret sauce of the recipe here. And if you do hear about Bluetooth locks, we encourage you to pick away at that a little bit, because that is a key thing to look at. And then the controller, what's really exciting is the controller, with the talented folks that are part of LVN and everything that's going on, you can, you could take this controller with your structured cabling backgrounds and do so many incredible things with it. Doorways, cabinets, enclosures, the list goes on and on and on. And what we're finding out, and if you told me when I joined the company, a year and a half ago, if you told me that our product would actually have some cachet and actually have some demand in the network and server cabinet space, I'd say, no. I've been in that industry forever. I don't see this thing working that way. I was completely wrong. People have that same problem where they're letting the right people in the rooms, but it's that security that's 1 foot away from the cabinet that they're having challenges with. And our solution being off network, not giving off any heat, hardly using any power, not taking up a lot of space. It's got all those datacom centric goodness about it dripping off it. It works perfectly for that type of application. Then as you can see on this architecture here, you've got the phone, you've got the app on the phone, Android or iOS, and ultimately that interfaces up with the cloud where all your credentials and your keys are being granted, etc., either via Wi-Fi or mobility connectivity. So we have an open architecture, open platform, RESTful API approach, including webhooks, and we've got API docs available. So I know a lot of you are already really big on access control to begin with. You've probably got some really great platforms that your customers are utilizing, and if that's the case, then there might not be a requirement for them to change the single pane of glass view that they have with their current architecture, with their current platform they're utilizing. They could just utilize our solution. The users are using the app on the phone, and the administrators are utilizing the single pane of glass view that they're already using, and we're just cross-referencing into our platform, and their command and controls are happening from what they're used to using. So that's a really important feature, because a lot of times people don't want to. They love the technology, but like, I don't want to learn anything else. Like my ticketing platform, whatever. I've got another solution already. So just a little bit about the padlock. First thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you. I've clicked the little button. If you could look at me on the screen, I've clicked the little button. It's lit up. It's awake. My app is on. The button ultimately gives you some indication of what mode the lock is in. Now it's blue. It's authenticating me. I hit the button, and I've opened it up, and we're good to go. So I had the right key. The lock validated it, and ultimately I was granted access, and I took it, and I'm in. So there's an access event that was just captured here. We'll go on the platform in a minute, and you'll be able to see, what I just did, where I did it from, etc., what I used to do it, and ultimately it's captured in the lock, and then the lock logs of the event are in the phone as well, and the phone is pushing it up to the cloud. So I'm going to close this up. Now that's done. That event is done. My phone says I'm locked. I'm good to go. And we've just had a full event. So a couple of cool things about the lock before I go onto the platform is what's really important to indicate is we build our solution from the ground up. It's another really important aspect with regards to cyber resilience equipment, physical security equipment. Everything's getting scrutinized. I'm sure everybody on this call has been in a situation where you're developing a solution for a customer. Everything's great, and then a couple of IT ninjas show up in the room, and they look at it, and they're like, no, it's not going to pass. We're not going to put it in our world. Well, number one, we're off network, so we're not even bolting onto their network, and they love that. Because if some of you have deployed some access control solutions, maybe in data centers, etc., they're like, oh, what are you going to do? Like, are you going to do some kind of deep VPN strategy to hide this vulnerability from our network? Like, no freaking way. So being off network gives them a bit of a sigh of relief. Then they're going to kick around our cloud a little bit, and then we'll bring in our ninjas, and they're going to be like, oh, dude, you guys, this is state-of-the-art stuff. You're good. Like, we've got some great technology to put everybody at ease. In fact, they get very excited about it. But by being built from the ground up, the app comes from our office. Like, it's not offshore. The cloud architecture from our office. Everything that's designed from our office. Most of the buildings happening within 30 minutes of our office. The metal's getting bashed offshore because there's a couple things we just had to do offshore. But the secret sauce and everything out of our office. And that's a big deal. That's a really big deal. And it's a good question to ask if you're hearing about other people bringing in other solutions to customers or whatnot. So Cable & Connection sell these locks already. They're selling them every day. And when they goes off the shelf to a customer, what we do is we actually create a virtual server for that customer, and then we move the lock from Cable Connections over to that customer. If there was one thing that we do, unlike anybody else, and if there's one thing I want you to capture in this discussion and bring it back with you, is we don't force anybody to buy 100 locks. We don't force anybody to buy 50 subscriptions without buying any locks. We don't force anybody to buy administration plans. We don't force anybody to buy extra keys. We don't ask anybody to, when you get to a certain number, then you got to belly up to the bar with this much. There's nothing like that. This thing has cost certainty, investment certainty associated to it. Customer wants to start with one, they start with one. They get the same user experience as a customer who wants to start with 1,000 or 10,000. That's a game changer right there. Because when you're talking about this type of technology, you're talking about transforming your customers, and they're looking at it and they're like, do you mean I got to come in on a Saturday, change everything up, and then on Sunday, like, people are going to be freaking out because they got to, like, I got my app on my phone. How do I do this? So we're not asking you to boil the ocean in one fall swoop. This is a gradual thing. You get your beachheads, and you just go and grow from there. So our technology and our architecture allow us to do it, that way. So when Cable Connections put it out to market, we actually have a lithium metal battery that's already loaded up in it. And we're right around 10,000 access events that can be supported with it coming off the shelf. People are saying that it's around a 5-year battery life. It's hard to tell. It really does depend on how much you use it, the temperature you have it out there. But we do say that it's designed for a 5-year. But we have a roll-off scale on how that works. We've had them out for a little over 4 years, and I would say about 6-8 months ago, there were some high users that were flipping out batteries. But it still leads the industry in battery life. To get access to the battery, you have to unlock the lock. You release a few screws. You slide out the cradle at the bottom, and you can flip the battery right in. Cabling connections stock the batteries. You can get access to them pretty easy. The other thing to indicate here is that you may get to the lock, and if no one has been at the lock for a long time, like we're talking year, 2, whatever it may be, or if something weird happened with the lock, the battery could be dead. Now, the platform reads the battery life. It reads the battery life every time a user goes to the lock. But if no one's been there in a while and the battery goes dead, we've got a mini USB port on the side. So if you have any type of peripheral device, most of us do, with a USB cable hanging off of it, you can plug it in, give it the power it needs, start it up again, and you get going. And then you make a note. The cloud will identify that battery was dead. Time to change it. So we have some really cool features. So you're not left without an option to get in if there's no power. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to move over to. Are you seeing my platform, my screen change? Okay, great, awesome. So let me just. I'm dialing into the portal here, and ultimately the lock that I have happens to be on a server that's in Canada, and that actually is supporting a bunch of locks that are up in Canada for one of our sales agents that we have here. And
sorry, Eric, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm still seeing your PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, okay. Thanks for bringing that up. I'm gonna stop presenting, and I'm gonna present again. Present a window. Let me go here. Thanks, Daniel. That was Daniel, our head of customer experience, our head of presentation experience. Bailed me out. So ultimately, we have our management platform that we call Teleport, and this happens to be a virtual server that's supporting a rep agency we have up in Canada. They have 14 locks. Sorry, no, they have 18 locks on the server, as you can see here. Now, for demonstration purposes, they probably configured 2 different sites, which is super easy. So you can do this hierarchy just as you will. And I know that everybody on the line, you guys are hierarchy and cabling experts. So cable IDs, lock IDs, all that stuff, you got it figured out. You can even use the TIA standard if you like for that. There's 48 users on this server that have been invited to the server. There's 18 locks, like I mentioned, 55 keys, and we can look at the locks geographically. So just for the sake of this demonstration, we're just going to go to me, and I could just look up my name. And there I am. I have administration right there, so I can wreak havoc on any salesperson out there and change things up on them for demonstrations. They love that. Click here. And as you can see, I've got keys here for different locks. Lock 11093 happens to be the one that's sitting on my desk. I've got another key for lock 11093, and I'll tell you about that one in a second. And I've also got this one. These are with customers. They're not really locks that I have now, and I've just left them. But if I want to get a little bit more information about what I've been up to as an administrator, you've got various. Really, you could see everything, as it relates to what devices are being used, how many times people have logged into the instance here, into the portal. What I wanted to get into is just viewing my history with locks. And as you can see, the event that the access event that I just created with you online here is archived here at 4:53 p.m. That's my local time. So wherever you are, that's the time that you'll see. And if I click on this little magnifying glass a little further, I can get into some deeper information about the access event. So it might be, I can go far back too. I mean, where was I on August 14th? Well, On August 14th, there's my GPS position of where the lock was unlocked. I'm using a Google Pixel 2 XL. I know I got to upgrade, but that's what I'm using. It works pretty good so far. There's my phone number. Don't worry about this last line of IMEI. Some of the newer ones, you'll see those logs don't come up anymore due to privacy laws that have rolled out. So we don't necessarily have that information, but that's an old one. And if I just go to the GPS positioning of where I was, Danny's seen this map 100 times. This is where I've been since March. So this is my house, and this is where I'm demonstrating the product, and it's accurate. So yeah, some interesting points here just to bring up. If I wanted to add a user, so what you'll do when you get a lock and then you get your server, adding users is super easy. The administrator just goes in, and you always tether your eyes to the left to see what functionality you can do based on the screen you're in. In this particular screen, I can add a user. So essentially, I'm going to go with Dan.Critch. I think you're already in here, Dan. I've done this 100 times, but let me go Blake. Blake, help me out here, man. Email address.
BURMOS
Yeah.
at lowvoltagenation.com.
Burmos at lowvoltagenation.com. That's Blake. And then it's Burmos. And then I'm going to give you, I'll let you go crazy, man. Just have
Thank
fun.
you.
Just mess with that. So there you go. So now you're going to get an email, and that invites you into the platform. So that's really important. And the next step for you is you download the app. The email will give you instructions on downloading the app, etc. So Blake, the lock that we sent you, that you're going to start having fun with and wreaking havoc on people, locking people in or out, we've also created a server for you. So when you get that lock, you open it up, your server's already created. You've already got an invitation. You may have already got an invitation from us probably a few hours ago for that server. Now I'm sending you one for this server. So this basically means that now whenever you stand in front of any lock that's on this server, your app's going to say, hey, you remember this community. This is what the lock is. You have a key. Would you like to open me? Or you don't have a key. Would you like to request a key? So if you're part of the community, you have visibility of all the locks. But if you're not part of the community, the locks mean nothing to you, which is really important. So that's how I added a user. And now I want to grant keys to Blake. So if I just come here, how are we doing on time? So far, so good. Great. That's the lock I've been opening. And oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong window here. Lock. There I am. So here we are. I want to give you keys. So I tether my eyes to the left here. I can issue a key. Let me look up Blake. You got 17 Blakes on this server. There you are. Okay. Now I can tighten this up to 15 minutes, or I can almost make it like a perpetual experience for someone. You can put it out 100 years. For Blake, we're going to say he's got a little job that he's got to finish tomorrow. So he's going to do 110 field cleanup. PC number 7. Telecom closet number 7. Next. I love speaking with y'all because I know this all means something to you. So then I just issue the key. So if and when you get the app, now you'll see your app will refresh and it'll say, hey, not only do you have access to the community, but you got access to that key for that lock to do your job, and it expires on Friday night. So get the job done, you're good to go. Then I'll be able to see everything that's going on and all that good stuff. So what I'd like to also do for you is I'm going to issue a key for this lock. Actually, before I do that, if you notice there's a little punch pad here, it looks like a little keypad. So you've got that scenario where my phone is, I dropped my phone in the sewer, but I got to go get this service call done. And I'm only getting a new phone on the weekend. How do I get to this location and do that service call? This is a real thing. If you can imagine, we deploy these in Africa, deep Latin America, Brazil. Not everybody's got a phone, but you got technicians that got to get work done. So their workflow, which is a big word and a big focus for us, is understanding customers' workflow. from a workflow perspective, you can actually issue secure codes to very specific individuals for very specific periods of time, and it's as if they're using their phone without the Bluetooth interaction, etc. And you could still deliver service calls through the platform to people who don't want to use their phone or don't have a phone. So if I click access code, and then I'm going to find Blake again. There he is. Now this is for the lock that's on my desk, so you got to get here. You got to cross the border and come and check things out. But what you notice here is that this is a 4-hour. This is a code that's good for 4 hours. And if those of you who are old enough to remember those RSA, those Royal Sun Alliance fobs that you would have when you're trying to get into deep VPN access, Chris sees it. I see him nodding. So so ultimately, this is the same type of phenomena. There's an algorithm on every lock. There's multiple numbers being flipped through it. Millions, thousands, millions of codes going on. When these locks get initialized, they get synchronized with our cloud. And just like those RSA codes, this individual has been granted a code from 3 p.m. Eastern time to 7 p.m. It's a 4-hour window. You click issue code, and then here's the code. And then ultimately, all I got to do is I go to the lock, and if you're looking looking at me in my screen, I hit the button underneath for 3 seconds. I let go. It's flashing. Then I just hold it for the flashes. That's 6, 8. That's 8. Another 8. Oh, thank goodness we got a 3. And we're done. So here's what's cool. I open this lock. It's red saying that it's open, but they think it's Blake because that's Blake's code. So when a user gets the number, so Blake's been up in Canada. They're looking for him. But when the user opens it up, when the user gets the number, the intent is, so Blake, you got an email giving you this code and giving you some instruction on it, etc. But ultimately, because I have visibility of it, I opened it, just kind of simulated. So I'm kind of gaming the system a little bit, but ultimately it's a secure code, and it's if someone else opened it, well, we blame Blake. Blake, you gave your code to someone else. If you're saying it wasn't you, and the cameras caught someone else, and you gave your code to someone else. So we have verifiable ways of trapping all these anomalies and obscurity. Now, if I don't do this, Darren Critch is gonna drop kick me because I did this on a presentation just a few days ago, and they're like, "Dude, you don't do this enough. Like, why don't you do this?" So I want to show you a little bit about data, and I want to show you about running reports in our system. And ultimately, you could run a report for whatever period you want on any type of data that you're looking at. User history, lock history. I mean, if I look at lock history, you could do it, for a month, 30 days, 7 days, whatever it may be. And then you can also look at it visually. You can look at charts. So in this particular instance, this is a week in review, which is kind of like a canned report. So it's interesting because it's a week in review, and now you're seeing it on locks as far as the top 10 locks that are being opened. Who's opening the locks? An interesting piece of data that we know our customers get a great deal of insight from is if people are in there longer than others. So that's an outlying thing. So from a security and cyber resilience perspective, if you're picking up on people that are hanging around longer than others, like why is this individual always spending more time at a site than anybody else? They're casing out the joint, maybe, who knows? Breadcrumbs lead to them. So we are actually apprehending people and helping helping put people behind bars with this type of information. It is a piece of forensic data that stands up. So all this to say that the last thing we could show is if you wanted to map out where all the locks are. So we're going to take a trip into Canada, and we got some people that are just going way too far north with these locks. Like, I don't know what this guy was doing, but we've obviously got it up. We've got it up at there's a mine up here. Someone's using it on this server. When you see it's just a teardrop, it's because it's a sad lock, because it's a lock that's all on its own. But if you get to the blue locks, it's because there's a bunch of them that are closer. And then as you get a little closer to it, happens to be in Edmonton. We have Mikael on the line who's jumped on to listen in out of Edmonton. This is where Mikael lives. He's got 2 locks in his house if you ever want to visit him, and then he probably dropped these off with some customers to have a closer look. So, or vice versa. So yeah. So and what it's grabbing again, it's not the GPS of the lock itself that would kill battery life. So it is the positioning service of your phone and how close you are to the lock and etc. that it's grabbing. So far, so good. Great. So I'm gonna flip back to the slides. Danny, you think I'm forgetting anything on the platform?
No, I think you covered it.
All right, great. It keeps me in check. Love it. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. And I will do that. Just got a few more slides to go over, and then we could do some Q&A. All right, now I'm kind of saving an interesting part of our presentation for next, because I know I have a good vibe of how a lot of you think with regards to structured cabling, with regards to providing an installed solution, and it's our controller. So all the secret sauce that I just shared with you, as it relates to the padlock, we've got it with this controller. And the nice thing about the controller, like I said, is it can get installed in any kind of lock that you may have out there that you need some help with, or any type of doorway, any type of cabinet, or whatnot. So as you look at this, integration is kind of the key word when it comes to this controller. And Daniel publishes a bunch of these really amazing documents that allow for us to listen to a customer, understand their application with the partner, or right from the customer, and then we build these installation guides. This happens to be one of these rim electric strikes for one of those bumper bars for a doorway. A little more of an elaborate wiring scheme, really pretty straightforward, but quite frankly, we're introducing this access pad, and I don't really have it as a picture on the slide, but I'll talk about it in a second. So we've got something that looks similar to like a doorbell, and you can put it at the outside of a door or a cabinet, outdoor rated, and ultimately the fail-safe unlock feature that I just showed on the lock. You do the same phenomena with the doorbell, with the access pad for the controller. So you click it, then you gain access to the environment. So it's really amazing that way. You also have a little 9-volt hookup at the bottom. We love our 9 volts. So if everything goes down, you could use the power hookup at the bottom of that little access pad to fire everything up and get through. Don't have it featured in this presentation, but we also offer a rack-mounted version of the controller. So we could do 8 locks in a 1 RU, and there's a ton of redundancy in that, etc. This happens to be one of the applications we have there. And these are cabinets that exist out there, and we're just popping out the locks of the handles. Typically, these are TIA standard openings. You could pop out the handle, you put in an electric one, really works with any of them, and then you wire up our controller to it. Here's a closer example of one cabinet, and we got a few of these already going, and they're just incredible with major power outages, etc. The only cabinets on the colos that they can get into happen to be the ones that are utilizing our technology. It's an incredible story. So our controller would sit in this cabinet, and it would power up the front door and the back door. Not power up, it would wire up the front door and the back door, and you'd get power from the cabinet or from the environment to go through the controller. And then as the user gets into the secure environment of the data center or the telecom closet or whatever it may be, they're utilizing their app and the keys and the credentials that they have to get access to that cabinet. So it's that 1 foot of extra access control that they might be missing today that they get with this. Just from a visual perspective, I happen to have one of these controllers at my desk. And as you can see, we've got these harnesses. The harness that you see here kind of represents I don't know what I'm going to hook it up to harness. So we give you a lot of options, and ultimately you plug it into the side of the connector point here, and you break out the harness, and you would pull power into the controller from that harness, and you would send it off to this happens to be a pretty commonly used door strike. Now you notice that there's a couple of sensors here. It's really important to note that if you don't have an alarming system on the door, if the door is not censored, you'll always want to censor the door, because the lock could be locked, but the door might not be in the right place. And I know I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but the fact that the platform can deliver both is a pretty cool thing. So that comes standard with the controller. The sensors are there; they're good to go. And then ultimately, that little 9 volt, again, we love it. I tell everybody we don't make a penny off the controller, but we make a killing on the battery. So no, the battery is just something you buy off the shelf. Nobody, it could be anybody who deploys it, but that 9-volt comes in handy. It could be something that a person's actually utilizing as part of their backup strategy. So they're popping in 9 volts and they have an administration plan a maintenance plan to maintain the batteries throughout the environment, or they have that little 9-volt hookup, concealed somewhere as the backup to the backup. If everything goes down, find the 9-volt hookup, plug it in, and you're good to go. And we've always got that access pad doorbell button that has a 9-volt hookup at the bottom of it too. So we just keep bringing that up. And the next few slides are just very basic stuff. There's some information about the app. Encourage everybody to download it, etc. Some information about the platform, but we've already covered this. Just doing the real demo here. And again, just some very key aspects to the platform. Security, we spare no expense. It is classified as bank grade security, which ultimately means it's similar to the security that you're being protected at the level you got protection on an ATM transaction. And we've got higher grades of security around the corner coming down the pipe with our platform, which is very exciting. Reliability, people get in and out. The right people are getting in and out. We don't have a history of I can't get into this. I got to find a way to bust the padlock. I got to bust the door down. People are getting in and out of our locations in a secure, safe way. We've got a great access event success rate. And then, of course, I should start the presentation with this point. I should end it with this point. You will not find scalability like this anywhere else. So everybody on the phone, if you feel like you need it for 1 or 2 locations, you feel like you need it for 500 locations, 5,000, you got a customer that's got a big plan. The user experience is identical, and this is incredibly unique in the market. And there is no catches or no surprises along the way. When you're talking about transformation and planning, ultimately think about us for places where you don't have a lot of power, you have power issues, you have network issues. If you got locations spread out, it could be even a campus environment for a university, college, school, where they've got the sports facilities, they got the equipment being out there, whatever it may be. We come to the rescue for stuff like that. The other thing where we play, and I spoke about it, is not all access control points are the same. So even though you have an incredible access control solution as a base, there are those special rooms where you want a little extra oomph. You want a little extra security because you got people coming in after hours. You got people temporary. There was this whole concept of like, yeah, we're going to lend them a card. Or yeah, no problem. We got biometrics. The fortunate scenario with the pandemic is people don't want to lend cards anymore. And the cross-reference of biometric fingerprinting is people are looking for options to that. So your own cell phone and the way we secure it with our workflow and with our work sessions approach to things, people aren't lending phones to each other. And we also have an ability to tighten the screws on a customer's workflow so that there's no crack for this to slip. You'll always have the right person getting in and out. Just a couple other things. I spoke about the scalability, and then of course, because it's off network, you're not getting people hacking it, and IT people are nodding their head and they love it. So where do you go from here? You reach out to us. We're happy to help you. We love doing these demos. We love getting locks and trials in front of people. Blake's got a lock now. He's going to try it. And the things we'll leave you with is like there's no forklift. This isn't a major undertaking. We're not asking you to boil the ocean. You could start as small as you like and grow from there. And there's cost certainty here. So it's not like there's a gotcha at the front end, the middle end, or the back end. You're getting a lock, and you're getting a 1, 3, 5, or 10-year subscription with the lock. You could buy it with the lock. You could do it as yearly separate. And we've never been thrown out of an office because of what we're charging for this solution. It's proven to be incredibly well received. I mean, we cut our teeth in some markets like Latin America and Africa, etc. The technology and where it's at is working incredibly well. So we've got a lot of testimonial there. Blake, man, I did it with 10 minutes left.
Congratulations. That was awesome.
That's a first.
You blew right through it, but that was a lot of good information, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, you got it. Anybody, any questions or anything? I've got Daniel is a mad scientist on the line. He can answer any questions. I encourage you to reach out to us to, ultimately get any kind of questions, clarification. You need to see one up close, and it's stocked at Cable and Connections, ready to go.
Yeah, I don't see any raised hands or any questions coming in right now. But one thing that I want to reiterate is the security component around how it's not bolting onto a network and introducing vectors for an attack. And for me, that's a huge thing because my background is in information security, and I do a lot of healthcare stuff as well. And it's a nightmare out there, especially when you start implementing all these different technologies and you do these integrations, and then you come in and do the physical security side of things and then introduce more vulnerabilities. To have something like this, a product that I can look at for certain things around physical security is huge in my opinion.
It's awesome. Yeah, I love the fact that you got that background. That's really great. And the concept of it is such that I really do, and hopefully you saw it as well, like from a low voltage perspective, this we think could be the tip of the spear to really transform in an accelerated fashion access control, the low voltage community. There's a saying, right? I mean, the only thing standing between technology and adoption is really the industry and the market, and just like channels to market. The grooves in the road are deep on how locks are being deployed today. They've been around for thousands of years, and this is a real different approach. Our founder, the first thing he did after closing AT&T was went to a locksmith conference, and I think he needed a police escort to leave. So, because they're looking at it like, dude, I'm selling key cutting machines. I put 4 kids through college cutting keys, man. What are you doing? So we get it, man. We get it. We understand. I mean, and it's not going to be us. It's just going to be organic. We got a question.
Yeah, I see something. Chris Wilson raised his hand. Now what do I do? I guess Chris Wilson, just jump on in.
There you go. Hey, Eric. Do you have tech specs and documentation? So my background is more on the technical side, system design, specifications, stuff like that. Do you have tech documents available, wiring diagrams? I see the one that you presented there, but do you have more details available on the website? Is it something you guys have from a support team? How do I get access to more of that? I want to deploy it in the field. I want to know how to roll that out.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for that. So we do. Daniel is the gatekeeper, and we have a secure site that we'll give you access to that we call the knowledge base. So ultimately, all you got to do is I got to find a way to get maybe the introduction could be through Blake, and then we'll get your email address, or if you're on the Slack feed, if you're on the LVN Slack, just look me up, and I'm right there, and you can just send me your email, and we'll get it over to Daniel, and we'll get you approved and get you right in. Got everything there.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I want to dig in a little bit. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Cool. Dan has raised his hand. You're up, Dan. And I think Dan lowered his hand.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are.
Right,
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, I've been selling or showing this lock for the last year, having Eric help me, and I just like to tell you that I've been showing it to high secure facilities like data centers, like Morgan Stanley type data center, Bloomberg. Been showing it to a lot of facilities, sewage treatment plants. I've been showing it to schools, and everyone has a need for something like this, whether it's the padlock or the controller. And it's the ease of putting it in and not connecting to the network is an amazing thing, as you pointed out, right? Because you don't worry about someone hacking into the network. So, in my job, what I do, I sell a lot of different tools, and every time I do these presentations, I show this lock, and it's just amazing the amount of people that are interested in it, right? From contractors to end users. So, if you have a customer or you want to use it for yourself, we definitely have the ability to demonstrate it and show it to people.
Yeah, I know that Marco Chaffee out of Enterprise CC, I know that he got one of those devices. I think you sent one out to him, Eric, and he had a use case for it, and he said it's rock solid. So, and so did Zach Cordova. Yeah, I think he sent one out to him as well, but they really like those devices. So I'm going to touch base with them and see if they still have those in production and see kind of what they're using them for.
Yeah, that's awesome for sure.
Eric,
Yeah.
Can I have one other question?
Sure.
Eric, you were going to come out with a new product for boxes for contractors. I mean, you want to touch that at all?
Yeah. So just like we have a different, some different shapes and sizes on the padlock. Now this controller is a tank, and you could get multitude of power options to support through this, and we've got it everywhere. But it still has this certain level of power requirement. You could wire up a battery. It's a little less intuitive, but it's getting done everywhere. So what we've done is we've gone ahead and introduced a little product. It almost looks like a small power supply that you pop on a dim rail. It's probably about the same footprint if you think about that, maybe a little smaller. And everything, all the secret sauce that we're talking about here, with just a little different range of power capabilities, etc., supported with AA batteries, and thousands of openings. So it is an incredible piece of tech. Again, remember our background, right? With the BlackBerry background, the security, the super efficient use of power. It's a hallmark for us. So this thing, in theory, could go. I think Dan's talking about job boxes on job sites. You've got some kind of logistics customer that wants to secure, whatever it may be. The thing can go anywhere. It could fit in anything, and it could be wired up to power, but it has that battery capability that's off the charts. Then that's imminent. I mean, we've got spec sheets on it now, and people are asking for it now, and it's a product that's right around the corner, like available in the new year. So very excited about it. Thanks for bringing it up. We call it the SLC2, single line controller 2, and so yeah, it's a cool product. Thanks for bringing it up, Dan. Dan's dying to get one.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, I think that about covers it. Anything else you wanted to share, Eric?
No, listen, we're happy to help, and happy to bring bring all this to the forefront with you. However you need it, any kind of support. We scale really well for that sort of thing. So please, you're all welcome. Download the app. Reach out to us if you're looking for getting closer up to the product, and some of you already have via Slack, so that's awesome. I appreciate that, and we'll follow up accordingly. Thank you.
Yeah, I've got the app installed, and I'm ready to receive my lock, Eric. So I'll be patiently waiting.
Tracking information for you, and your server's been set up. And if you search your email and look for teleport, you probably have it in the background somewhere from yesterday. Yeah, you could take on the world. You're good to go.
Yeah, I got 2 servers. I have Low Voltage Nation, and I have Impact. Those are the 2 servers.
Impact's the one you could wreak havoc on. That's the one that I was just showing. The Low Voltage is your individual lock. So I'm going to delete you off Impact, by the way. So don't.
Well, I'm in it right now. I've been playing around with it as you've been talking.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. Cool. This has been great. So yeah, thank you again to Sera4 and Cable and Connections. We love you guys. You guys are awesome. So appreciate the introduction and the continued support of Low Voltage Nation. You guys rock. Yeah. So thank you, everybody. Y'all take care. All right.
Thanks for the time, everyone. See you now.